And since I got it running, I thought I'd do a little walk around, talk about it, talk about what it is, because probably a lot of people don't really know what these are about. So, so this is 1988. This is a phase 1. The phase 2 came out in 89, 90. So it's one of the last phase 1s. Phase 2, different body kit. They had to fit cats on them to reach emission regulations. So the phase 1s are a little bit faster. But they have the MI16 engine in them, which look fantastic in the engine bay. They're about 175, 180 horsepower from factory, which is pretty cool for a little French hatchback. The downside to them, not really downside because they're really cool, is the hydraulic suspension. So it works off a pump that's driven on the back of the engine. That sucks fluid from a reservoir and then feeds it around the car under amazingly high pressure. But what's cool about the system is that the suspension, steering and brakes are all operated by that one hydraulic system. So in your average car you have coil springs, you have your brake master cylinder, your brake fluid, and you have power steering and power steering fluid if you have power steering. But on a Citroen, with these Citroens, with this system, they're all incorporated. So the suspension is done by these spheres. So it's got a standard McPherson style strut, but they don't have a spring. These cylinders are filled with gas with a spring inside them, very high pressure. And as the fluid that's in the shock gets forced up, the high pressure in there forces it back and creates your suspension. Brakes work as normal, power steering works as normal. Like I said, it's all just driven off the one system. So they do have a very cool party piece, which is this lever down here. The car is terribly messy and I can only apologise. So you've got a bottom setting, middle setting, up and then top. What that setting does, that's the suspension ride height. So the lowest setting, I don't actually know what it's for, but I don't know, unless you want to get under a really, really low KFC gantry. So it has a really low setting, which puts it right on its arse, like right down, which is cool at car meets. The middle setting is your driving setting, so you use that all the time. It has a slightly upper setting, which is for slightly raised situations. And then it has a top setting, which is supposed to be for like safari, fording, streams, whatever you would want to do in a sporty French hatchback. So one thing that people used to do back in the day, and I've done in this, but it's stupid, is you pull up to a set of lights, they go to red, you get the lever, whack it straight on the floor, get the car to sink all the way to the deck, and then you pull it all the way back up, get it to go as high as it can, and then when it gets to the top, you put it back down into driving setting, and you see if you can do all of that moving before the lights change again. And if it doesn't, you're sort of driving along and the car's bouncing around because it's trying to reset the suspension. You look like a bit of a knob. What else can I say? A lot of plastics used in them. I presume that's a common French thing. So front bumper's plastic, which is usual. All the bodywork trims are plastic. The bonnet's plastic. The boot lid is plastic. Back bump's plastic. This panel, plastic. Rear quarter, plastic. They have wacky Citroen things, like the bonnet badge is off to the one side because Citroen. Most of them have crazy steering wheels, but I think the 16 valve has a pretty cool steering wheel like that. Yeah, they're a fairly affordable classic retro car because not a lot of people like them because they're an acquired taste for looks and they're a pain in the ass for the hydraulics. So if we go back to the hydraulic situation, so that reservoir takes the fluid, puts it in the pump, switches around, gets forced out throughout the car through all those systems. And all those systems have got various valves, check valves, and they've also got returns. So there's a piece of pipe work that's under here. Where's it? It's either under there or down there, and it's called the octopus. And it's more than an octopus. It's like 10 octopuses. It's a ridiculous amount of pipes that come up to one junction, and they're all rubber. So eventually, over time, these perish. So you can imagine the amount of pipe work that's under these cars and the amount of leaks you get because the pipes perish. All the high pressure lines are like brake lines. They're all copper, easy to remake, but all the rubber ones are all formed specially, which is crap, but they still do them. You can still get the parts, but a lot of people are put off by the those issues, you know, leaks, finding the suspension bits, and it just not being very conventional. So yeah, so this is part 2 of the video, because part 1 was finding the really annoying thing that made it not start, because I hate electrics. And then we'll do a part 2 when I hopefully get it back on the road, or at least get it back up and driving, and maybe clean it and then park it up again. But hopefully it won't break this time. But yeah, I had a lot of fun in this growing up. It was hilarious to see people's faces when you pulled up at meets. It's not the common car for a youth to be racing around in. When I got it, when I got it on the road, I immediately cut the exhaust off and put cherry bomb on it, which is on it at the minute. Which I think looks quite cool. And makes it sound louder, which is always better. Yeah, and I used to not race. I didn't race. I drove fast with my friends, and one of them had a Fiat 500 Abarth, and they're pretty nippy cars, and I just about beat him up a section of dual carriageway at 70 mile an hour. So pretty quick things as well. And they're really comfortable. They're phenomenally comfortable. They are one of the most comfortable cars you will ever sit in. They are fantastic. You could drive over a speed bump at 25, 30 mile an hour in this, and you would not feel it anywhere near as much as you would in a standard conventional suspension car. They are brilliant. In fact, the system was that good when Citroen sort of designed it and put it in their cars in the sort of 50s. I think the 2CV might have been the first car to use it. Correct me, Citroen nerds, please. That Rolls-Royce used it in their cars, and Bentley, because it was that good. Yeah, so we are going to do a part 3 to the video, and hopefully show you it more shiny and on the road and better, or as best as a French car can be. I'm not hating on French cars, to be honest. I like French cars. I think they do the best hot hatches ever. They're fantastic, including this one. This is great. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 3, whenever that is. As you know, with project cars, it could be a month, it could be 5 years. So hang in there, and I appreciate your support. Thanks.